And now to honor America.
America, and that's from someone who left America because I didn't think America was quite so wonderful at the time. And it's just interesting how many years later that I have developed a renewed appreciation for this great land of ours, with all of its imperfections, that I almost feel compelled to speak to. So if you'll bear with me, maybe through my experience, you can get a little different perspective, because I certainly did. And my friends, I know, again, our system isn't perfect by any means, and there's corruption and this and that. But over there, you're lucky if you get a piece of paper moved from one floor to the next to address whatever it is without bribing somebody, And if the guy that you're trying to sue, let's say, my family member, has the money, they can pretty much just kind of go like this with your money, and nothing gets done. So, just the processes that we have in place and the checks and balances to pretty much make sure, at the very least, your stuff's getting filed, right? You know what I mean? Your legitimate business that you have can't kind of be paid off at every turn. And that's sadly the reality of the way a lot of these third world countries' so-called legal systems work, where the corruption is so bad that all of a sudden, by comparison, ours is broken as it is. And, at least the bad guys kind of have to still stay hidden. So what I'm saying is we really, truly do have the best in the world. As far as the way it's set up, as imperfect as it is, because trust me, it could be a lot worse. Just as far as the freedoms that you think you have. Remember the 1800s, the Wild West, when just because you had a piece of paper that said you owned a certain piece of land or something like that, a group of guys could just come in and fucking take it anyway. There's not many people stopping them. And that's kind of how it is out there. It's like the 1800s. So what happened with me is my rebirth back into the United States, with nothing, resulted in a renewed appreciation for what America has to offer, which is a chance, an opportunity, and again, even as broken as that is, my friends, other countries don't have that at all. So I literally was at the mercy of trying to figure out how this worked, and was in a homeless shelter, for a while before I could, get put up and, prove my poverty, and get what's essentially assistance, to stay in a hotel while you're, with a voucher, while you're attempting to find work, to save up. I mean, as flawed as all of those things are, at least they're there. And so I managed myself through all of those things in a way that I didn't, take any of the easy way outs. Because you can claim you have depression, or you have an alcohol problem, or you can have this, and, they'll sign here. And then you can literally spend your life being picked up by those little white vans. And as long as you go to their programs, and check their boxes, that you don't have to work another day in your life. But I didn't want to choose that route. I was looking to get myself back up on my feet, and I wasn't looking for a handout. I was just looking for a job, for a chance to get back into the system. I feel America welcomed me back and gave me another opportunity, which it has. And so it's like I've gotten myself back up to the point where I've raised my credit score back up, and I've upgraded my car a couple of times, my living conditions several times, to where now I'm in a palace as far as I'm concerned. I literally feel like I'm in a mansion, because it's I have no roommates. There's America is the only country in the world that gives you this type of a chance. And so I owe America an apology, because when I left, I didn't feel this way. I never thought I was coming back. And now I'm so glad that I'm back, because I go through a lot of examples. We take a lot of things for granted over here, that, again, need fixing. Yes, but at least there's something to work with. The ideals of America, that for one of the reasons when I left, it's like I felt that it wasn't the America that it used to be anymore. That, growing up, in the 80s and everything. And maybe it's not in a lot of ways. But you know what? It's still the best in the world. And it's still based on the ideal principles of, humanitarian efforts. The United States still does a lot of good around the world. And, does, missions of trying to upgrade water, and help people to grow crops. And when a situation breaks out with a tsunami, or an earthquake somewhere around the world, it's the United States that usually sends the most money and support, and troops on the ground with UNICEF and different programs. It's like, so, let's cut America a little bit of slack. These things. And one of the first things when I did it, when I went to a Wawa, honestly, I almost dropped to my knees. It was like the modern convenience of just being able to walk up to something and press a couple of buttons, and then all of a sudden there's people in the back making pretty darn fresh, good food, for not that much money. There's things is that, let's try and take the old America back. Based on its original principles, and stick up for it a little bit more. It's like, no, it's not perfect, but it's also a melting pot, right? You see, so that's another thing that we can show the rest of the world, that let's stop fighting amongst ourselves, and stop being these spoiled fat Americans, which is that's the rap that we have. That the other countries, that they say that. They say, you're not the America that you used to be, and what happened, and you guys are this and you're that. And part of it actually is because we're fighting amongst ourselves. This is what they say, that you're free. You're fighting over your Democrat and your Republican, and the East Coast is fighting with the West Coast, and Let me tell you, you take a wrong turn in Ecuador in a car, you got guys standing there with guns that are going to take everything that you have. And you're lucky if they leave you alive. This is just riding around the country going from one city to another. You know, it, that doesn't happen in America. You know what I mean? And it's this freedom of movement and speech that we truly take for granted, and we really shouldn't. Let's speak, but let's relax about it and let other people speak too, because that's really what America was founded on, right? Our freedom of speech, and that's not the same speech. It's a freedom of differences. We can be the big brothers of the world, like they say, but in a good way, in a more humanitarian way. To all just pull back and relax a little bit and understand to me again, like what being an American means. It really is a wonderful country that we live in.